Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pan-African Ghana. Today, I want us to deliberate on the matters affecting the African continent. Now, I want to take you back to history, okay, for us to delve deep into history to get an understanding about what we are about to discuss today. So I want to tackle the issue of xenophobia in South Africa. Okay, so the baby last on the African continent, just 1994, that they got their first black president to redeem them from the apartheid. They were not redeemed from colonialism, they were redeemed from the apartheid. Now, I'll give you a brief history so that you get to know what I'm about to dispense today. Now, the reason for this channel's name is called the Pan-African Ghana. The Pan-African Ghana because the first president of the country, Ghana, created an conducive environment, okay, in order to make all the African countries come and able to habit within the country of Ghana and then blend well with the country of Ghana. Now, this is the thing. Nkrumah wanted to create an environment starting from Ghana where Africans could live and unite as one, because he was pushing for the Pan-African agenda, which was a bigger issue. And so he couldn't do it within the stipulated time. So he had to create something for people to, get the feeling of how the Pan-African feeling would be. So people don't know this, but let me break this thing for you. When Nkrumah gained independence for Ghana in 1957, all the way to 1966 till he was overthrown, Ghana was a Pan-African country, in the sense that Ghana was open to all Africans on the continent and even outside the continent. Now, I want to channel this to what the South Africans are doing in their country. The South Africans are not violent, the South Africans are not bad people. They are just acting ignorantly to what they don't know. South Africa is not an independent country. South Africa is just a country that has solved the apartheid problem. They don't know 80% of their lands are owned by the white people. And so the reason why most of them are into this thing and then they are doing it ignorantly is because they lack this knowledge. Back then in 1963, when the Organization of the African Union was formed by the leaders of the continent, okay, so we know pioneers like Kwame Nkrumah, Modibo Keita, we know the likes of Guinea President Sekou Touré, we know the likes of Gamar Nassal, all those people, they came together and then they formed the Organization of the African Union. Initially, it wasn't supposed to be so. The vision of Nkrumah was to make sure that they create an organization that unites Africa as one politically, okay? But then, it was not so, because there was an indirect control of the West, okay, influencing some people on the continent in order for them not to make this thing possible. So they then went on the route of a block called the Monrovia block. So this is a deep history. I'm not going to go deeper today. So they went on that block, okay. So the main idea for that one is gradualism. So they wanted Africa to unite in a gradual manner, okay. Nkrumah wanted an instant unification of the continent, but it wasn't possible. Now let me zone into this. After the AU was formed, all the African heads of state came together in order to liberate South Africa from the apartheid regime. Okay, most people don't know that Nelson Mandela solved the apartheid regime. Nelson Mandela didn't liberate South Africans from the oppressions or from the colonization from the whites. There are three types of colonialism that went on the African continent, and people don't know about this. Let me break this thing for you. If you check the history of the African continent, the bloodiest independence, the bloodiest, country, okay, that got independence through blood and through dangerous terror was Algeria. Now, Algeria was a colony of the France, okay? So the France wanted to make Algeria their settlement on the African continent, okay? So there were two countries that the colonizers decided to make it settlements for them. One is Algeria, two is South Africa. Now, when you check the history of the Algerians, before they could gain total independence from the French, Their independence was the most bloodiest on the African continent. Check the history. Now, South Africans didn't do this. If South Africans want to get real independence in their country, they should go and check how Algeria did theirs, because that is how it is going to be. Because the British are in South Africa not to play with them and then go. They are there to stay. And so therefore, when you go to South Africa, there is a place called the Township. That is where the real South Africans live. That place is one of the most poorest places on the African continent. When you see the South African city on the TV and then on the media, you see that, oh, it's a beautiful city. But that city, that place is only meant for those, the elite, and then the white people. The real masses of the South Africans, they live in the townships and in the villages. They live in a very poor state. Most of them are living even without electricity. In this day and age, as I'm talking to you, it's a big issue on the African continent, and people must not think of it lightly. South Africa is fighting for a freedom, and then they are fighting the wrong people to get the freedom that they want. The blacks are not their enemy. The whites are their enemy. If they want to get the freedom that they desire, they should check Algeria. How Algeria gained independence from French people. It was very bloody. It was total bloody. Okay, and so this is an information I want to get across to the people. Don't know how much input Ghana, Nigeria, and the other African continents made to get South Africa out of the apartheid regime, but they don't know. And so these things that they are doing in their country, it is out of ignorance. Okay, and then it's not because the people are bad or the people are wicked, but it is because out of their anguish, they are acting ignorantly. Most of them don't know that 80% of their land is in the hands of the whites. I agree with Malema when he speaks, okay? And then I trust and I know that indeed he will one day become the president of the country. And then finally, the idea and then the intentions of the patriots can come to fruition, where Africa will unite politically and have one army, where Africa will have one voice, where Africa will negotiate with the other parts of the world with one voice. This is the only reason and then the only way Africa will totally become free. I look forward to a future where Africans will come together as one, and then they will work and harness the power of their resources. This is Pan-African Ghana. This is the channel where everything about the African continent started right after independence of Ghana. So guys, this is a deep issue that I've given to you in bulk. Follow me on this channel, click the notification button, and then comment if you have anything in mind. And if you have anything to discuss, comment in the section. Let's get interactive. See you in my next video.